I hope you all enjoy those Super Bomberman arm videos I've been doing. Yeah, I hadn't done those videos for a while, so I decided to do those let's plays slash gameplays, depending on what you want to call them. But that's not what this video is about. This video I'm doing is a reaction video to top 10 most terrifying ghost signs in Britain, which is by WatchMojoUK. And well, let's see what this is all about, shall we? Oh, and also I'll put a link to the original video in the description box for anybody who's interested.
Don't turn out the lights. Welcome to WatchMojoUK.
Oh, this clipper, that's from that Hamptonshire ghost thing. Now I remember hearing about that.
Down our picks for the top 10 most terrifying ghost sightings in Britain. Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we'll be looking at the spookiest ghost stories from around the UK. Number 10. Whitby's Phantom Hearse. Whitby's most famous supernatural resident might be Dracula himself, but there are plenty of strange encounters that don't...
Wait, there's a 2020 version of Dracula? I may actually have to go watch that film.
...involve the world's most famous vampire. One in particular is a story attached to St.
Yeah, in case you're wondering, this buggy slash wagon thing that's been pulled by horses, yeah, that's a hearse. That's like an old fashioned hearse. That's like an old buggy hearse that people used to use years ago. Way before you got like the modern version of a hearse that would be like a car transporting a deceased person to their resting place at a cemetery or graveyard, if that makes sense.
Mary's Church, which was also an important setting in Bram Stoker's magnum opus. A phantom hearse pulled by black horses appears at the graveside of a recently buried sailor, helmed by a headless coachman which takes the sailor over the cliff and into the sea below. The grounds of Whitby Abbey itself also host numerous spectres, including a nun who was bricked up to die after falling in love with a knight. Number 9. Beast of Barmston Drain. In 2016, a mysterious creature made itself known in Hull. The so-called Beast of Barmston Drain was described by witnesses as being half man, half dog, and was seen jumping across the waterway and eating a German Shepherd. Local Hull historian Mike Covell took an interest in numerous sightings at the drain, which has seen more than 100 drowning deaths over the years. The creature was...
Does this have something to do with the fact that there were local wolves in the UK? I don't know if you not heard that, but it was sounded like a bird chirping outside. Sounded like that bird was smoking 20 cigarettes a day or some shit like that. Anyway, yeah, I think there's something, as I recall, there's local wolves in the UK.
Was later identified as an 8-foot tall werewolf nicknamed Old Stinker. While many don't believe the stories, some researchers have blamed the folklore on collective guilt over wiping out Britain's native wolves. Whatever the reason, you want to be careful walking near Barmston Drain at night. Number 8. The Gorbals Vampire. A shadowy monster supposedly stalks the southern necropolis in Glasgow, Scotland. In the 1950s, the urban myth began to take shape, and it was rumoured that a vampire was preying on local children. Rather than cower in fear, dozens of kids teamed up with makeshift weapons to slay the vampire head-on. This was in September 1953, and police eventually found the kids.
Uh, I think I remember hearing something similar. I think I remember hearing this exact same story, if not a similar story. Um, where something similar to this happened in a different country about how some kids uh, had gone and done this exact same thing, but the difference being that. But the problem was that these kids had actually, uh, well, at the time, they were they were all reading the same type of comic book about alleged vampires. About just like one or two alleged vampires, and after hearing rumors about there being a vampire at a certain cemetery, like or graveyard, like was mentioned here, um, like a small mob of like 8 to 16 kids armed with like baseball bats or something like that went after the supposed vampires, and it was supposed to be put down to these kids just reading to us comic books. And I think there was like an interview. I think there was like an interview with this a reporter with this one man who was like who was one of the kids at the time who went vampire hunting, actually recounts the incident. And apparently to this day, that man still believes that he and the other kids at the time had gone vampire hunting or stuff like
On
that.
a mission to get revenge for their fallen friends. Though an actual vampire has never been found, the raid on the cemetery definitely happened, and the vampire is immortalized as a mural painted in 2016. There was even a play made about it. Number 7. Mr. Boots. A prime candidate for one of the most haunted places in Scotland, the Edinburgh Vaults were a network of underground streets, initially used by tradesmen. They eventually became slums in the 1800s, before being closed completely. Now a major tourist attraction, some of the old residents don't seem to have left. The most notorious is Mr. Boots, so named for his loud footsteps, thought to be the ghost of a murderer. He's been allegedly photographed numerous times and has a penchant for terrorizing the visitors. One
Why didn't all the other spirits just give Mr. Boots the boot out the place then? They could have gone and done that. Given the boot out of there, so he won't be sticking around.
unlucky tourist even suffered a nasty head injury blamed on the ghost in 2011. Number 6. Disaster victims. First constructed in the late 19th century, the London
BBC
Underground has no
News.
shortage of ghost stories to fill its tunnels. But one of the most distressing revolves around the victims of the Bethnal Green tube disaster in 1943. During the Blitz, the underground tunnels were routinely used by civilians sheltering from air raids. But on March 3rd, hundreds of people fled into the tunnels following an air raid siren, eventually leading to a fatal crash that tragically killed 173 people. Late at night, it's said
173 people. Shit.
station workers and commuters can hear the cries and screams of the victims of the disaster. Number 5. The Crier, a Claif. On the shores of Lake Windermere, locals and boatmen will often hear the loud wails of a monk who died hundreds of years ago, the Claif Crier himself. It's said the monk fell in love with a fallen woman but was rejected. Rather than move on with his life, his ghost now wanders the shore crying out for help. But beware, a grisly story says that once a novice ferryman answered the monk's cries, despite being warned away by his superiors, and decided to offer assistance. Whatever he found, he was driven completely mad, dying mere days later and taking his secret to the grave. Number 4. The Roman Legion. In 1953, local plumber Harry Martindale was working in the cellar of Treasurer's House in York fixing pipes. History was made when he saw an entire Roman legion marching through the cellar from the knees up because the old Roman road beneath the building was lowered down. Martindale gave specific details.
Okay. Yeah, don't know about you lot, but if I saw that, I probably would have passed out on the spot because that would have been creepy. Not to mention, I wouldn't know if they're just people like dressing up just to try and confuse me or some nonsense like that. Wait, that don't make sense. Yeah, um, yeah, I probably pass out on the spot because of because I would be creeped out by that. Plus, I don't know if I would tell anybody about that though, because I don't think anybody would believe me so much. And and even if I had video proof to back up my claim, a number of people are probably going to say that that I supposedly faked that video proof. So there probably wouldn't be any point in me having video evidence to back up my claim. Which is pretty much why I wouldn't bother telling anybody about my ghost encounter. Same thing applies with Bigfoot. If Bigfoot was real and I ever encountered one, same thing. I probably wouldn't bother telling anybody because nobody would believe it. And if I provided video evidence as proof, people are probably going to say that I faked the video footage. So, so yeah, that. So, so this applies with ghosts, Bigfoot, and like, you can even say the same thing about the Loch Ness monster.
Of the clothes the legionaries were wearing, and his account was consistent with the real soldiers stationed there in the 5th century. The sighting has since become famous, with an entire exhibit about it in Treasurer's House, and up until his death in 2014, Martindale never changed his story. Number 3. Anne Boleyn. Henry VIII's second wife, Anne Boleyn, was executed in 1536 on charges of treason and adultery. She's since become one of the most famous ghosts in the country. Her usual haunts include Blickling Hall in Norwich, Marwell Hall in Hampshire, Sal Church in
Really? In Norwich? The fucking city that I'm currently living in? Really? Effing really? That's just bullshit, dude.
Norfolk, and the Tower of London itself. These are all places Anne had a connection to, whether it's where she was locked up, where she may have been buried, or where she spent parts of her childhood. A vicar in Northamptonshire even claimed to have had conversations with the ghost of Anne Boleyn, while others allege her spirit appears headless. Number 2. The Pendle Witches. In 1612, a dozen people in Lancashire were accused of witchcraft, 11 women and 1 man. 10 of them were found guilty and hanged, and many came from just 2 families. The witches' ghosts are now said to haunt Pendle Hill.
Yeah, why is it just one man who was condemned and not and 11 rather than 10 women and not instead of it being the other way around? Because that's something I've always noticed. When people back then who get charged with witchcraft, uh, 9 times out of 10, you usually have women who get executed for that sort of thing. You rarely ever get men getting executed for that sort of thing.
And sometimes are even snapped in photographs. It's thought the spirits are restless because of their gruesome demise and unfair execution. If you go to Pendle and the nearby towns today, however, you won't need to go far to find a witch. In 2012, on the 400th anniversary of the trials, the world record for the largest group of people dressed as witches at once was set. Number 1. The Hampton Court Ghost. Hampton Court, a Tudor
Yeah,
palace
that's it. The
built for
Hampton
Henry
Court
VIII,
Ghost.
is notoriously haunted. One of the most famous sightings of all time was actually caught on CCTV in 2008. In the footage, a figure wearing Tudor clothes can be seen throwing open a set of heavy fire doors and then closing them again. Security guards said that though an alarm went off to indicate the door was open, they didn't see anybody, and neither did any of the other cameras. Plenty of skeptics believe the footage is a hoax, but many spectres are said to walk the hallowed halls of Hampton Court, including two more of Henry's wives, Jane Seymour and Catherine Howard. Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent.
Yeah, that's yeah, I thought I recognised that Hampton Court one. Yeah, yeah, honestly, uh, yeah, honestly, if I ever had a ghostly encounter, I don't know if I would go public with it. And the reason why is because, well, I'm a bit 50, I will admit I would be 50-50 about going public with it because thinking about it, on one hand, on one hand, um, on one hand that would be interesting if I went public because that would be an interesting story to tell. But on the other hand, I don't know. I don't think anybody would believe me so much, and if I have video evidence to back up my claim, then people probably might say the footage is faked. Even though those same people that claim to that the video was faked are probably people who would have said that they require video proof to back up that claim, which you know, there's double standards there. Anyway, uh, anyway, I, I hope you enjoy this reaction video. Oh, please like, comment, subscribe if you did. I'll put a link to the original video by WatchMojoUK in the description box. And until next time, goodbye for now.